Hi everyone, the next problem we're going to do from chapter 22 is exercise 22-2. Remember, you can find these if you log into our Cengage course, and you'll find it under an ungraded assignment for chapter 22. So exercise 22-2 is we're going to do a flexible budget for selling and administrative expenses for a service company, and it's for digital solutions. They use flexible budgets that are based on the following data. A flexible budget, if you look here on the board, is one that's set up at different levels of sales or different levels of activity so that we can plan depending upon what our activity is. So again, if you look here, they tell us sales commissions are 8% of sales, advertising expense 15% of sales. Those are complete variable costs because they're going to change with changes in sales. We have miscellaneous administrative expenses. It's a mixed cost with the $10,000 fixed component and 4% of sales. Office salaries is a fixed expense. Customer service is another mixed expense. And research and development is a fixed expense. So the problem wants us to prepare a flexible selling and admin expense budget for October for the 3 different sales volumes. And you can use Exhibit 5 in your textbook. I know it's kind of sloppy on the board because I'm writing it out myself. But so you've got your heading there, you've got your levels. Remember, these kind of budget statements are not for external use, they're only for internal use. So they don't have to follow GAAP. So first we're going to look at our variable costs. And like I said, sales commissions. So the first cost we're going to look at is sales commissions. And sales commissions are 8% of total sales. So if we're looking at for $500,000, we're going to multiply that times 0.08, and that amount equals $40,000. So I'm going to put commissions here. If we're looking at the $750,000, sales commissions then will be budgeted to be $60,000. And then if we're looking at sales of $1 million, we would have sales commissions of $80,000. So again, with a flexible budget, you're going along, you have 3 different months. So here I'm going to put, I want to make sure how they want to put in your homework. So you're going to put it in as a positive number. So here we've got sales commissions at $40,000 when our sales are $500,000. We're going to have commissions of $60,000 if sales are $750,000, and we're going to have commissions of $80,000 if we're looking at $1 million in sales. We're going to do the same thing now for the next variable cost, which is the advertising expense. So that's what you're going to put into your form next. And the problem tells us that advertising is 15% of sales. So we're going to do the same thing again here. So we're going to have advertising. So here we're going to take the $500,000 in sales. We're going to multiply that times 15%. That's going to equal $75,000. If we have $750,000 in sales times 15%, that's going to equal $112,500. And if we have $1 million in sales times 15%, that's going to equal $150,000. So again, I'm going to put those into our form for the administrative budget. So we've got $75,000. We have $112,500, and we have $150,000. So we've done that. So the next one, and I apologize if my dogs bark, they're playing in here. So don't have little kids, but I have little dogs. So the next expense that comes up is miscellaneous administrative expenses. Now there's a fixed component of $10,000 and a variable component of 4% of sales. So So we've got, I'm going to put miscellaneous expense here. So when sales are at 500,000, the variable component is, we're going to multiply that times 0.04. That equals 20,000. If we're at 750,000 times 4%, that's going to give us 30,000. And if we're at $1 million, 4% is going to be 40,000. So we're going to put that into our form under the variable expenses. So we're going to have, what are we calling it? Miscellaneous, admin, expense. And so we're going to have the 20,000. When we have 500,000 in sales, we're going to have 30,000. When we have 750,000 in sales, and we're going to have 40,000 when we have $1 million in sales. So we're almost finished with doing our variable job components. The last one is the variable component of customer support. So if you're looking at your problem, it tells us that there's a $20,000 fixed component, and then 30% of sales goes to customer support. So again, we're going to do the same thing here for support. We've got, when it's 500,000 in sales, we're going to multiply that times 0.30, so that's going to equal 150,000. When it's 750,000, 30% of that is going to be 225,000. And then finally, if we have $1 million, 30% of that is going to equal 300,000. So we're going to enter that again into our budget up here. We've got 150,000. We've got 225,000. And we've got 300,000. So the next step is you want to come up and calculate your total variable costs. So we're going to do our total variable costs. So if we add up the four variable costs at $500,000 of sales, we have $285,000 in variable costs. If we're at 750,000 in sales, we have $427,500 in variable costs. And then with $1 million, we have a total of $570,000 worth of variable costs. So that's the first component. It's very easy for management to see at the different level of sales what our variable costs will be. And so the other component that we have to look at are our fixed costs. And remember that the characteristic of a fixed cost is it remains the same regardless of your level of activity within the relevant range. So the first one that came up was the miscellaneous administrative expense. And the fixed component of that was $10,000 a month, or $10,000. So it's going to be $10,000 regardless of the level of activity. The next item that we have is office salaries expense of $50,000 a month. So we've got office salaries. That's going to be the same. So that's $50,000 a month. The third fixed expense that we have is customer service or customer support, and that's $20,000. And the final fixed cost that we have to look at is research and development, and that's $75,000. R&D, $75,000. 75,000. 75,000. So then we're going to calculate a total fixed costs. And remember, it's going to be the same under all three levels of activity, so it's always going to be 155,000. And then the last step is to add up the total selling and administrative expenses. So that's adding up the total fixed and the total variable. Total admin and selling. Sorry, I did that backwards. So here, under $500,000 of sales, we're going to take the variable cost of $285 and fixed cost of $155,000, and we have $440,000 as our total selling and administrative expenses. For $750,000 in sales, we're going to have the $427,500 and $155 for a total of $582,500. And then finally, under $1 million worth of sales, we're going to add the $570,000 and the $155,000 for a total of $725,000 of our selling and administrative expenses. So one of the things I like about budgeting is that, it's really a lot of it's fill in the blanks, and it's relevant to who we are now. You can use this in your home budgets, you can use this at work. So this is how you're going to solve exercise 22-2. Make sure that you email me if you have any questions.